Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something huge. The global legal scramble around artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's a big one.
And we're really going to zero in on maybe the most sensitive part, how personal data, specifically biometric data, is being regulated.
That's the key battleground right now.
So our mission for you, the listener, is pretty straightforward. We want you to quickly get a handle on the main approaches out there. You know, the US versus the EU.
The big players, essentially.
Right. And we'll look at what actually happens when these big ideas about AI rules meet the real world. Think massive fines and some really strange legal situations.
And we have to kick things off with why everyone's so concerned. The privacy risk isn't just like a theory. It's fundamental.
Okay.
Get this. There was research looked at 1.5 million people's movement data.
Wow, okay. A lot of data.
Huge amount. And they found that just only four random location and time points were enough to uniquely ID 95% of those people.
Okay, hang on. Even if the data was supposedly anonymized.
Exactly. Even in a data set where they had already tried to strip out identifiers, 4 random check-ins basically act like a fingerprint.
So anonymity is kind of an illusion then, especially with movement data.
It really suggests that, yeah. Our patterns are just too unique. Standard de-identification. It doesn't hold up well.
Even if they make the data fuzzier, like less precise.
Apparently, even coarse data doesn't offer much protection. The uniqueness just shines through when you look at patterns over time.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Because if that's the baseline risk with just location, biometrics must be, I don't know, a whole different level of danger.
Totally different category. That's why regulators are giving it special treatment.
So why? What makes biometric info so special it needs its own rulebook?
Well, think about it. Biometrics are tied directly to you, your physical self, and they're permanent.
Permanent. Unlike a password I can change.
Exactly. The FTC definition is pretty clear. It's data about physical, biological, or behavioral traits, things that identify you.
Your face, fingerprint, maybe even how you walk.
All of that. You can't just swap out your face if there's a data breach.
That permanence is, yeah, kind of chilling when you think about surveillance. And the harms aren't just identity theft, are they? What else are bodies like the FTC worried about?
Oh, it's much broader. They're really concerned about what can be inferred from that data.
Inferred, like guessing things.
Sort of, yeah. If you combine permanent biometric ID with location tracking, boom, you can start figuring out really sensitive stuff.
Like what?
Well, imagine an AI identifying you near a specific type of, say, healthcare clinic, or a church, or a synagogue, or maybe a union meeting.
Ah, so it could infer your health conditions, your religion, your political leanings.
Precisely. Without you ever explicitly stating those things, the system pieces it together.
So the tech doesn't just know who you are, it builds this detailed private profile about you behind the scenes.
That's the fear. And it gets worse because these systems aren't perfect. We know that.
Right, the bias issue.
Yeah. Facial recognition, for instance, some models have documented higher error rates for certain groups of people.
So you have a technology that permanently identifies you, making sensitive guesses, and it might be wrong more often for some people.
Exactly. That's a recipe for potential discrimination. Systemic bias baked right in.
And this whole push for identification and prediction, it connects back to that idea of surveillance capitalism, doesn't it?
It really does. The idea that it's not just about predicting what you'll do, but actually trying to shape your behavior.
Nudging you towards certain actions or purchases or votes.
Potentially, yeah. When the goal shifts from just observation to prediction and control, that's a fundamental challenge to, human autonomy.
Which makes these international rules feel less like bureaucracy and more like, well, essential safeguards.
Absolutely. And regulators learn lessons from past events. Think Cambridge Analytica.
Oh yeah, the Facebook data scandal.
What? 50 million profiles used for political micro-targeting. That was a wake-up call about the power of bulk data collection.
Okay, so that's the threat landscape. Huge risks, permanent data, potential for manipulation. How are the big global players responding? Let's start with the US. Their blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights.
Right. The US approach, it's more philosophical. It sets out guiding principles rather than hard legal requirements right now.
Guiding principles like?
There are 5 main ones. Safe and effective systems first. Then algorithmic discrimination protections. Data privacy, obviously. Notice and explanation so you know when AI is used. And finally, human alternatives, consideration, and fallback.
Human fallback, meaning you can appeal to a person.
Yeah, basically ensuring there's always a human in the loop somewhere, especially for important decisions.
What's the upside of just having principles? Doesn't that lag teeth?
While the argument is flexibility, technology moves incredibly fast, right? A rigid law might be obsolete almost immediately.
True.
So the blueprint focuses more on process. It talks about needing diverse input when building systems, doing pre-deployment testing, ongoing monitoring.
And independent checks.
Yes, independent evaluation, with the results made public if possible. The idea is to build trust through transparency and good practice, adapting as the tech evolves.
Okay, so a focus on trustworthy development, but then you look across the Atlantic, the EU AI Act. That sounds much heavier.
No, it is. It's comprehensive legislation, not principles, but law. And it's built around risk levels.
Risk levels, meaning some AI is riskier than others.
Exactly. And crucially, the EU approach starts with outright bans. Some AI uses are just considered unacceptable, full stop.
Banned. Like what kind of AI gets banned completely?
Primarily, things that infer sensitive stuff from biometrics. The Act explicitly prohibits using biometric data to guess or deduce things like your race, political opinions, religion, sexual orientation.
So AI designed to sort people into sensitive categories based on their physical data.
Banned. Illegal in the EU. They see that as too high a risk to fundamental rights.
Okay, beyond the bans, what's next? You mentioned risk levels.
Right, the big category is high-risk AI. This is where most of the detailed rules apply.
And what qualifies as high risk?
Systems that could seriously harm someone's fundamental rights, their health, or their safety. Think about AI making decisions about essential things.
Like getting a loan or a job.
Exactly. Evaluating creditworthiness that determines if you get housing or finance. AI used in hiring. Also, AI in law enforcement.
Like predicting crime risk or evaluating evidence.
Yep, all high risk. And another really important one,
Which is?
AI used in public benefits. Anything that grants, denies, reduces, or reclaims essential aid, Social Security, state healthcare access.
Got it. So if an AI system controls access to essentials, it's automatically high risk.
That's the idea. And being high risk triggers a whole load of compliance duties for the companies making and using the AI.
Now let's get to the really controversial bit. Real-time facial recognition in public places.
Yeah.
Live surveillance. How does the EU handle that?
Very, very carefully. The general rule is prohibited for law enforcement.
Prohibited. Completely.
Almost. There are exceptions, but they are extremely narrow and specific. Exhaustively listed, the law says.
Okay, what kind of exceptions?
Things like searching for specific victims of crime, like a missing child. Dealing with an imminent threat to life, like a terrorist attack unfolding. Or identifying perpetrators of very serious crimes.
How serious?
Crimes punishable by at least 4 years in prison under that member state's law. So not minor offenses.
That sounds reasonable on paper, but couldn't police just claim an emergency exists to use it?
But that's the crucial safeguard. Even if one of those narrow exceptions applies, they can't just switch it on.
No.
No, they need prior authorization, express and specific permission from a judge or an independent administrative body before they use it.
Before. What if it's a genuine, sudden emergency?
Even then, if prior approval is truly impossible, they have to request authorization immediately after and no later than 24 hours. The default is judicial oversight first.
That's a pretty high bar. Preemptive legal checks.
It's designed to be. The whole point is to prevent widespread, unchecked surveillance.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, as you said earlier. How does all this theory, principles, bans, high-risk rules actually play out? Let's talk enforcement. Clearview AI seems like the perfect case study.
Absolutely. Clearview AI, the company that scraped billions of photos from social media for its facial recognition database, they faced regulators on both sides of the Atlantic with very different results.
So, Europe first. What happened there?
Under GDPR, Europe's existing data protection law, the Dutch Data Protection Authority hit them hard. A fine of $30.5 million.
Wow. That's about the $34 million US.
Roughly, yeah, a huge penalty. The violation was basically creating this massive biometric database illegally and not telling people.
And there was something else too, right? About the directors.
Yes, that's key. The Dutch regulator is also looking into holding the directors personally liable.
Personally. I mean, they could be responsible, not just the company.
If they knew about the violations and didn't act, potentially yes. That really raises the stakes for executives. Personal accountability.
Okay, so that's the EU approach. Massive fines, potential personal liability. Now contrast that with the US outcome for Clearview, the Illinois settlement.
Right. Illinois has a strong state law. BIPA, the Biometric Information Privacy Act. There was a class action lawsuit.
And the settlement? Approved March 2025.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't just a fine, was it?
No, this is the really fascinating part. The settlement gave the class members, the people whose privacy was violated, a 23% equity stake in Clearview AI.
Equity. They got shares in the company.
Yep. Valued at around $51.75 million on paper.
But how does that actually work? Do they get cash?
That's the catch. The payout depends entirely on Clearview's future success. An IPO, getting bought out, generating big profits.
Wait a minute. So the victims only get paid if the company that harmed them succeeds?
Pretty much. Their compensation is directly tied to Clearview successfully monetizing the very technology and data that caused the privacy harm in the first place.
That sounds bizarre.
Almost perverse.
The victims are now shareholders rooting for the company's controversial business model to thrive.
It creates a very strange alignment of interests, doesn't it? Completely different from the punitive fines in the EU. It really highlights the different ways legal redress can work.
So even with a strong state law like Illinois',
Yeah.
the U.S. outcome can be much more complex, maybe less immediately punishing than in Europe.
It seems that way in this case. Though we should also mention the FTC, the Federal Trade
But
Commission.
that's a federal agency.
They've been active too. They've gone after companies like Everalbum, even Facebook, for misleading people about how they used facial recognition. So there is federal enforcement happening in the U.S. too.
Okay, so summing this all up, what does this mean for you, the listener, trying to make sense of it all?
Well, I think the core tension is clear. You've got these diverging global philosophies.
Yeah, the EU with its hard rules, big fines, strict categories.
Right, legally binding, aiming for strong protection up front. And then the U.S., more flexible, principle-based, focusing on process and perhaps, well, dealing with harms after the fact through lawsuits, which can have these complex outcomes like the Clearview equity deal.
And the future of holding companies accountable. Where's that heading?
Look at the EU AI Act again. It puts legal duties on both the company that develops the AI, the provider.
And the company that actually uses it, the deployer.
Exactly. Shared responsibility. The provider needs quality management, transparency. The deployer needs human oversight, record keeping, logs.
So everyone in the chain has obligations.
That seems to be the regulatory direction. Distribute the accountability because the tech is so complex.
That makes sense. And one last thing the EU Act introduced, these AI regulatory sandboxes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Basically, controlled environments where developers can test new AI under supervision.
So regulators trying to encourage innovation, but within strict guardrails.
That seems to be the idea. Foster development, but safely. Which brings us to the final big question, I think.
Okay, leave us with something to think about.
Well, you have these incredibly high stakes now. Especially in the EU, fines can be enormous, up to 7% of global annual turnover for really serious breaches.
7%. That could be billions for major tech companies.
Absolutely crippling penalties. So the question is, as we move towards this goal of trustworthy AI, will that trust primarily come from companies genuinely changing their ethics? Or will it mostly be driven by the sheer terror of those massive economic penalties?
Fear versus ethics. A good question to ponder as AI continues to reshape everything.